Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome, everyone, to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. So excited to bring our guest to you today. You are going to be blown away. Are there riches and referrals in niches? Are there riches and niches? We're going to find out today if you should niche, if you should go down. By the way, for the Canadians, niche. I'm just throwing it out there, but it doesn't rhyme with riches. There are no Rishis in niches. I got to go riches in the niches. It's one of those we gotta work the language here today. And I have to tell you that it is one of those where I can tell you right now that you are going to want to hone in on what your messaging is to your database, to your sphere, and to your community. And that's a form of niching. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm very excited about it. I've got to give a shout out real quick to Maddie, M-A-D-I. I've experienced several coaching classes with Michael now, and his content is always amazing. Episode 201 with Stephanie highlights affirmations and the power behind them. I love the thought to stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself. And as someone who is starting off in the business, I will be reminding myself of this often. Love that, Maddie. Glad it made a difference. And also glad that you're taking our classes and you think the content's amazing. Very much appreciate that. Thank you. For those of you that haven't reviewed us, do us a favor. Go to iTunes or go to YouTube or anywhere that you listen to the podcast. Do us a favor and do yourself a favor. When you rate and review it, people will typically read the newest ones. In the description where you talk about something like this, do yourself and me a favor and put all your contact information in your review. That way, it's Referrals Podcast. That way, people will reach out to you. They'll applaud what you said. They'll say, me too. They'll, whatever it is. But make sure you put your contact information in your 5-star reviews so that you could possibly get referrals. Speaking of referrals, join gengen.com. Join the generosity generation. That's my tribe of trust. We have over 9,000 plus at joingengen.com. We'd love to have you. Over 1,000 referrals already in there, 2 or 3 more this week. So check it out at join, J-O-I-N, gengen, G-E-N.com. Join GenGen, join the generosity generation today at joingengen.com. So speaking of referrals and speaking of awesome, today we have Amanda Williams, who's also known as Amanda the Traveling Realtor. She has been featured in Success Magazine in the top 50 women of influence for 2022. She is in the top 1% of eXp Realty brokers and influencers, and also owns Carolina Furnished Rentals, a short-term and mid-term rental business in Raleigh, North Carolina, with over 25 furnished homes to choose from. Amanda has been bitten by the travel bug and is now purchasing properties worldwide, starting with an overwater bungalow in Belize and a residency at sea, which will take her around the world. Without further ado, let's welcome to Referrals Podcast, Amanda Williams. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks so much for having me. And I love what you do, and I love your Gen group. So keep doing good work.
Well, I appreciate that. And I love you. And so I met Amanda in Cabo. I went to a conference there a few weeks ago, and I always love going to Cabo. There's something magical and energetic about Cabo. I usually set personal records in the weight room while I'm down there, which is so weird. And I meet a lot of great people. And out of those people, I met like some people that just instantly you knew you liked them. You knew they had their stuff together, and like there was an energy about them. And Amanda was one of those people that I met in Cabo. She wasn't even at the same conference really. She was just kind of coming over to meet some people. Met her on the steps. We had a great conversation, and I'm just like, OMG, like you would be perfect for Referrals Podcast. And It's one of those where are the riches in the niches, and you are known as the Traveling Realtor. So tell us how you earned that title.
Well, I spoke it into existence.
Wow. Speaking of affirmations, sometimes we are what we call ourselves.
That is so true, right?
If you're gonna take a nickname, don't take like Stinky, or don't take like, these other like flying fish coming out of your head, right? Don't take those. You want to take a nickname like you want to pick your own, right? You want to be the Traveling Realtor, right?
Yep. It's all part of branding yourself and speaking that into existence. So yeah, I mean, I started out, I've always had a travel bug since I was 23. I traveled around the world and, did my thing when I was young. But when I got my real estate license, I was kind of stuck in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I was selling houses and I didn't really like that too much. So I was investing at the time. And I found a group and we traveled about 4 times a year together. And it was just a group of us that were traveling. We were all investing and we were masterminding and it was awesome. And on one of those trips afterwards, I was literally laying in a hammock in Jamaica. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to brand myself as the Traveling Realtor and I'm going to figure out how to make money with this thing. And that was about a year, probably a year and a half after I had joined EXP. And I was just started putting all the puzzle pieces together.
I absolutely love that. And what's funny is we think of real estate as a local business. That's be the local expert, be the community expert, this, that, and the other. You've gone the totally opposite route. You're going to be the Traveling Realtor. And what's interesting is I think most agents would actually rather be traveling agents than just like have to be stuck at home all the time. So I think you kind of took a niche that a lot of people would really like anyway. So I love that part about it. So how did you get into rental properties and what are the different types of like rental properties that you typically work with, and how'd you get started in that?
Yeah, so I got started actually in rentals. I was investing before that, but I started buying rental properties in 2012. And the first property I bought was my grandmother's house when she passed away. Uh-huh. And so I went in, I fixed it up, and I put a long-term tenant in it because that's all I knew. And I was getting $1,100 a month for that property, which I thought was amazing. I paid like $170,000 for the house. And so at the time it was great. I was young. And then I really got into real estate. I ended up getting my license. I started buying. At the time, I thought I had to buy a bunch of long-term rental properties in order to create my cash flow so I could eventually retire by 40. And that was my vision. I wanted 200 long-term rental properties. That's the only way I saw that I could create passive income at the time. And so I started doing that. And then I figured out that I could do something called owner financing, seller financing, where if you don't know, for the audience, that's where the house is paid off. And the owner actually holds the bank note. There's no bank, it's him, right? He holds the mortgage on the property. So then you're paying the owner, you're not paying a bank. So it allows you to be able to buy a lot of properties quickly. So I bought 9 properties in 1 year that way and was on a roll. And so started building up the rental portfolio. We had about a little over 15 properties. And that's when I found EXP. And then shortly after that, I don't know if you want me to go down this whole road, but shortly after that, my dad got cancer and I ended up, I don't believe in the way that America treats cancer. So I took him to Mexico for an alternative cancer treatment down there, which worked, by the way. And
like a stem cell? Is that what you did? Or
no, it's called the Gerson therapy. And there's a Gerson clinic down there called the CHIPSA clinic. And there's a lot that goes into it. I don't want to bore you guys with all the health stuff, but
you might save somebody from cancer, right? So I think that's great to know. That's what drove you to Mexico in the first place, right?
It really is. Yeah. So we went down to the CHIPSA hospital. We didn't really know how long we were going to be there because we were going to be putting him through all of these alternative treatments. And we put our house on the rental market as an Airbnb. And we house hacked, right? That's what we call house hacking, where you put all of your personal belongings in places like the closet or a bedroom or a garage. You lock
somewhere with a lock, right? Somewhere with a lock, locker in the basement. Yep.
Yep. And then you rent that bad boy out. And so that house made us a lot of money that month. And I was like, oh my God, we're on to something. So from there, while we were in Mexico, I was still flipping houses at the time too. So we started keeping some of those houses that we were flipping and turning those into short-term rentals. And then we bought a few, turned those into short-term rentals. And then a light bulb went off on how we could do this using other people's properties. And so I'll get into that in a few minutes, but that's kind of my journey into rental properties and what we're doing.
So let me ask you this. So when you were getting started, so you said that, all right, you found seller financing, owner financing, you know, doesn't have to be held by the bank. So it doesn't count against you necessarily on a rental score or you know, any time of your credit. And you tend to be able to accumulate these properties pretty quickly. How did you find those deals? Like, how were they coming to you at that time? And was it something you were proactive with that you were searching, or was it something that was attractive where people were seeking you out?
No, we were finding them. And at the time, it was 2014 and 2015. Okay. So we found all of our properties on Craigslist.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes.
Does Craigslist even exist anymore?
I think it does. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's gold in there. Think about it. Like all of these older generation people, right? They have rental properties and now they're getting to a point where some of them want to sell them. Mm-hmm. And so they're all paid off, most of them. You know, these people have owned these properties for 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah. So they're throwing them on Craigslist because that's all they know. Mm. And so then when you go and you meet with them in person, it's super easy just to roll right into that conversation of the option of them holding the financing.
Yeah. Wow. Very cool. And all right. So you very rapidly got to 9 and then 15, right? And you went to Mexico, unfortunately, because your dad got cancer. It sounds like that worked out to his benefit, right? And all right. So now you said that are the 15 properties just in Raleigh, or are they everywhere?
At the time, they were only in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay. All right. And then you decided to Airbnb the house that you lived in before, right? And the first month was pretty lucrative on that.
Yes.
Okay. And how long were you in Mexico?
That time we were in Mexico for a month.
Okay. All right. And then did you go back?
Well, we started traveling a lot after that. Mm-hmm. After my dad got better. And then
you were making a lot of money on the house that you were going to go back to, but now it's like, maybe we don't go back to that.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, you can make a few thousand on this house, which then pays for you to go travel. And if you can work remotely, why not do that? Right. Yeah. At the time, I didn't have all the remote work figured out, to tell you the truth, because I was still an agent. I was flipping houses. Yeah. So it was very hands-on. I was chasing cats every day. That's contractors. Mm-hmm. So it was a very hands-on thing. So we went back to our house, but then we had already started accumulating all of these other properties, and we kind of got on a roll with something called rental arbitrage after that. And that is where you find someone who's renting out a property, just a normal unfurnished rental property, and you go have a chat with the landlord and let them know what your business model is. And then I would rent the property in my company name. I would go in, I would furnish the property, set up all the utilities, the Wi-Fi, everything, and then remarket that property for double or triple of what I'm paying for that rent payment.
So it's like an option. You're doing an option on renting, basically, right? So you're like, I'm going to rent it out for $800, and they get their payment covered or whatever it is, and then you rent it out for $1,600 or $2,400 and make the difference, right?
Yeah,
it's furnished. You can also advertise it as furnished.
It's a sublease. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I have a master lease with my landlord, and then I'm subleasing that out to my tenants.
Very cool.
Yes, I shouldn't say tenants. They're not tenants because I only do short term on those. Those are guests.
Yeah. So
don't want to fall into landlord-tenant law.
Yeah. So these are short-term rentals. The rental arbitrage are short-term rentals.
Yeah, short-term. And we started out short-term. So we started out, all of these properties were on Airbnb, every one of them. That was my only platform. And then when COVID hit, we we fell into a situation which has made us completely niche out in this industry. And so obviously when COVID hit, everything was canceled. We had $60,000 of reservations vanish overnight. And we were like, holy cow, what are we going to do? So in desperate mode, I went to Facebook and I just started posting into all of the different groups, like in Chicago and New York City and all those groups. And I was like, hey, come quarantine with us if you're living in an apartment and you have kids who are Zoom schooling and you have dogs and now you're having to work from Zoom and you're living in a little apartment. Come quarantine in the South. Come stay in one of our homes. By the way, all of our properties are single family homes. And most of them are 3 to 5 bedrooms. And a lot of them are on like a half an acre of land.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. I was like, come quarantine with us. You have all the room you need.
And they could work from anywhere, right? Yeah. So there's, somebody that's tired of the cold, tired of the busyness, tired of the crowd, and they know that their kids need some room to stretch. They hear half acre and they hear 5 bedrooms and it's like half what they're paying in rent. That was brilliant, Amanda, to do that. That was a great strategy. What a zig. And I mean, it's just like what we did with RMA, right? We developed an academy, Referral Mastery Academy. It's been one of the best things we've ever done. And that was kind of our reaction to quarantine and COVID. It turned out to be one of the best zigs that we could do in that world. So I love that. Now, all right. So, man, you've got a lot to unpack. You're willing and dealing. You're doing short-term rentals. You're doing mid-term rentals. You're doing some long-term rentals. You're doing rental arbitrage. You're the traveling realtor, right? So how do you, when we talked before, you kind of had this established niche that's happening now with Cabo, right? With midterm rentals in Cabo. How did that get started and what does that look like?
Well, I want to take a step back because my midterm rentals are in North Carolina. So all of my properties are in North Carolina as far as my midterm rentals.
Yeah.
And the way that we got into that niche, so they were coming and quarantining with us, but what we found is that most of those people loved it so much they wanted to move to Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, now I see where this is going. Yeah,
yes.
They rent until they own, and when they own, you work with them or your team works with them.
Yep. So then we referred them out to our real estate agents. They started buying properties, and that completely changed my entire business model. So now every marketing dollar I spend goes to people who are thinking about moving to Raleigh, North Carolina. They come in, they do our Live Like a Local program where they can live in different properties around the city or wherever, and they can find the area that they really love. And so then they're not pressured into purchasing a home in a neighborhood or an area that they don't really know that they love that, right? So there's different little sub cities or sub towns, around Raleigh, and all of them are really different. So that's why I rolled out that Live Like a Local. So now that's my entire business. I cater to people moving to Raleigh, North Carolina. They're staying for 30, 60, 90 days, sometimes longer if they're building a house. And that's my business. And that's where the referrals are coming from.
That's how you just drop the mic. I mean, because here's the thing. I mean, like I am an example of this. I moved to Atlanta, and a lot of times when people move or whatever, they buy a house, but I didn't know Atlanta. And when I asked about schools, I got like 7 different schools, right? And when I asked about different things, I got different answers. So I'm like, I'm going to rent, So I found a rental, and we stayed in the rental 3 or 4 years. It was the best thing I could have ever done for me and my family. Is we got a lay of the land. We learned where the schools that were going to be right for our son really were. We learned about sports. I didn't know which schools had a tradition of sports and athletics and things like that. And I wanted my son to go to somewhere like that. And it was just like I learned a ton in that 3 to 4 years. And that, in my opinion, makes the most sense out of everything for somebody that's moving from one place to another. Unless they just get lucky, right? Or there's just that one neighborhood in that one school district in that city, which, Raleigh's not going to be like that. But, there are some places where there's really that one place to be. But I absolutely love that. It would have been great to see a program. I Live Like a Local program. Come on now. That's brilliant. Right. So I love that. And is that like, so talk to me about that a little bit. I'm in Atlanta and I'm thinking about, North Carolina. How would I find you?
Yep. So we probably reach out to you on social media. Okay. If you're looking at anything regarding to moving to Raleigh, North Carolina. Yeah. And so we have our website. We do all direct bookings. 95% of our bookings are direct bookings. So people are going directly to our website, which is Carolina Furnished Rentals. And then we have a relocation guide that we push as well. So it's something that we created. So they go to our website, they download our relocation guide. It has all of the information that they need about the area. It also has, of course, testimonials, reviews, all that stuff, all of our company information in there as well. Why it's so important to use our agents when moving to the area. And so then they go into our CRM system and then they're in an email campaign, right? We've also had ISAs reach out and call those people. My partner calls them and just starts building that relationship with them. And so I have students across the U.S. doing this right now. We're all running the exact same program, the Live Like a Local program, and it's working in all of the cities.
Yeah, I love it. And so explain the Live Like a Local program to me. Like I'm interested. Like, so I'm in Atlanta. I'm thinking about going to Raleigh, North Carolina. So tell me about this Live Like a Local.
Yeah, so you can come in, you can pick from our 25 properties depending on availability. And then you'll just come in and however long you want to stay. We prefer you to stay a month per location. And a lot of people, they don't even choose. I mean, they choose maybe one or two locations. But if they wanted to, they could choose more. And so you could come. So Raleigh's kind of the middle, right? And then we have all of the little cities around. So let's just take Cary, North Carolina, as an example, which Cary is a more expensive, more, more classy area, more that golfer type.
And the Cary, North Carolina people go, woo! Yeah, I love it. I love it. And the Raleigh people go, what? I get it. It's okay. So it's a more affluent area, maybe more upscale, right? In some ways. So
yeah. So they can come in, they can stay in one of our Cary properties, which is like super nice and quaint, or they could stay there for a month and then they could, let's just say, move to Clayton, which is about 45 minutes from Cary. Both are about 30 minutes from Raleigh. And so in Clayton, now that is like super small town. It's in Johnson County, not Wake County. So it's very country. And it's all about the community. There's a local farmer's market. There's a local little, garden in the downtown area, and everyone knows each other. And like, it's just a super, small town feel, right? So those are two.
I want chickens. I'm going to Clayton.
Yes, go to Clayton if you want chicken.
There you go.
So that's an example, right? And someone can come in and get a feel for both of those areas. If they were just coming in and they were picking a house based on the price and the actual build of the house, and they end up in Clayton with chickens beside them versus Cary where they really should be, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And it happens. I know that it happens. So how many different properties can I stay in before I make a decision?
As many as you want.
So 25.
If you wanted.
Because I stayed 3 years, right? Yeah. So musical houses, I like it. So how often, can people stay more than 30 days? So if they get in and they like it, that's what we did, right? We got into the first one, ended up being great. And so we stayed there. Right.
Yes, absolutely. We've had many people stay. Our average is 3 months.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, because, people have to get there. They have to look around. They have to get a feel for the area. Then they have to go under contract. Then they have to go through all that. So, yeah, 3 to 6 months is about normal, but our average is 3 months.
Yeah. So is that harder on you as a landlord to have so many short-term type of, wouldn't it be easier for you to have 25 properties with a renter in there who's going to stay in there for 10 years?
Yeah, but I would be making about a quarter of what I'm making right now.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be getting any of the commissions on them buying houses.
So you're saying it's worth a little bit more work?
It is. And it's really not that much. I mean, come on, like I live in Cabo San Lucas. We manage it from here, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like I have to be boots on the ground. We have our cleaners, we have our maintenance guy, we have our landscapers, like we have our runners, we have our laundry people. We have everyone in place to be able to run the business while we're not there.
You know what I'm hearing is I hear someone who has implemented Timothy Ferriss's 4-hour work week. That's really what I'm feeling right here is I haven't met very many people that have a 4-hour work week. And I'm sure you work a lot more than that.
Oh yeah.
but the word that keeps creeping up to me and in my head is freedom. Like, how much freedom does Amanda have? Amanda has a lot of freedom. And what gave her that freedom? It was a niche. You know, people think of a niche and sometimes they think it's confining and it's like, I'm only this. And what you've discovered is that by being the master of your niche, it's actually giving you a lot of freedom to the point where you've moved to Cabo. Like what made that happen? When did that happen? And how did you make that decision?
So remember that group I was telling you about that we traveled together?
The Traveling Realtors. Yes, the traveling group. Yep.
Yeah.
What is it? The Traveling Pants. What is it? The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Is that what it is? So yes.
The Traveling Investment Group.
There you go.
Yeah, so we were all locked in our houses for 3 months and we talked and they were like, hey, let's go mastermind. So picked Cabo. There was 20 of us that came. Jeez. And after we were here for just a couple of days, 7 of us looked at each other and we were like, let's stay. Like, why are we going back? And so we started looking for a house and we ended up getting a huge compound. It was like 3 villas in one in an area called Pedregal, which hangs over the Pacific Ocean. Like literally our pool hung over the ocean. It was super epic. And so we all moved in. We signed a 4-month contract. So we all lived there. And then we had a casita that we rented out to people who want like either my students or their students, because we were all educators. So then our students would come in, they would rent the casita, and then we would mastermind with them over the weekend. And we would do that 2 weekends a month. So that literally paid for almost all of our expenses of living in this house, by the way. So we were house hacking that house as well. And the reason that we all wanted to stay is because number one, all of us could do our business remotely. That was fine. And then number two, you know, we're all serial entrepreneurs. So I really wish I did have a 4-hour work day, but I am just like, I love business and I love starting businesses. So I was I have a course. So I was redoing my course because obviously I had to pivot when COVID hit. So now I no longer did only Airbnb. I did more of this midterm thing. So I had to redo my course. One of the guys wrote a book. The other girl ended up building an entire CRM system and marketing system. And we just had like the entrepreneur house and it was awesome.
That's awesome. And all right, so tell us about this course. Like if someone is interested in implementing something similar to what you're doing, what is the first thing that they should do?
Educate themselves.
Yeah.
So I think I always tell people to start in their backyard, to tell you the truth, because when you're first starting a business like this, you are going to have to be boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. You do have to learn a lot of this for yourself. A lot of it you can sub out to your cleaners, obviously, and stuff like that, as long as you have the right checklist for them and they know what they're doing. That's your most important part of this business is your cleaners. But starting in your backyard and figuring out, is that a good area? Like, who's your avatar? Are you in an area that people are moving into? Are you in an area that has a lot of people living there? So maybe you can cater to insurance claims, right? Or maybe you're in a military town. Maybe you can do some military contracts. Or maybe you're in a vacation rental town and you can make a lot of money on vacation rentals. So it's figuring out where you are and then who would be your perfect avatar. And then finding someone that you resonate with and just follow their step-by-step systems. You can go to YouTube and watch 1 million videos. You're going to be stuck because you are going to be so confused because everyone does it differently.
So do you teach this? How do I learn from you? Like, I want to learn from you. How do I do that?
Of course. Yeah, I teach it. Yeah, I have a whole course. I'm doing a whole thing. I do classes all the time. I do free classes all the time. And then I also have a course, and then I do a monthly mastermind with my students.
All right. Well, you seem somewhat reluctant to promote it, so I'm going to go there, right? So how do I sign up for a free class as to what you're doing? And what's the title of these classes?
So it's the entire system is called the Halo Method Arbitrage System. So the Halo Method, I'll just tell you a little sneak peek. Don't hold me to this and text me next month saying, where's the next course? Mm-hmm. But Halo stands for house hacking, which the course is coming. The A stands for arbitrage, which the course is already out. That's where you learn how to rent from the landlord and then re-rent that property out, sublease that out. The L is standing for lease options. And then the O stands for owner financing. And so I'm going into lease options and owner financing just because of the market that we're going into in the next couple of years. I believe that people need to educate themselves on how to take advantage of some of these properties that are going to be on sale.
As an acronym guy, I give it 2 thumbs up. Halo Method. Love that. So, and talk about 4 really powerful things that you've already exhibited that you're an expert in, right? House hacking, arbitrage, lease option, and owner financing. Love that. And all right, so I want to go to a free class. What do I go to? AmandaWilliams.com. How do I do that? How do I sign up today? I'm in.
I have a lot of pages. So I would say the best thing, I'm Amanda the Traveling Realtor everywhere. So all you have to do is go to AmandaTheTravelingRealtor.com. That's my hub page. But the best thing is really to see me on Instagram because I have my link tree there. I have all of the links there, everything that I'm doing. All of my classes are on my link tree as well. So anything that's coming up, when you click on that, which is link in bio, then you'll be able to see and sign up for everything that I'm doing.
What's your Insta?
It's AmandaTheTravelingRealtor.com. Excuse me, Amanda the Traveling Realtor.
Okay. So it's at Amanda the Traveling Realtor.
Yep. And traveling is with 1 L, by the way. Some people like to do that with 2.
Good call. I did spell it right, but I might have just gotten lazy and just wasn't going to put the second L in. So no, this is awesome. This is a powerful thing. I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, how many realtors know how to house hack? And the answer is not very many. All right. So how many of them know how to do rental arbitrage? Not very freaking many. And how many know both? Not very many. How many know how to, and the advantages and disadvantages of the lease option world, right? Not very many. How many know all 3 of those? We're talking 0.005% maybe. And then the last but not least is owner financing. And it's like, these are all realms of the world that the realtors don't go to typically, right? Here's what they know: get a listing, sell it, have a buyer, help them find a house, write it up, close it. And I have a debate on how many actually do that well, but it's one of those where like this is super, super powerful stuff that anybody could add to their game. Yeah.
Absolutely. I always tell our agents, I'm like, look, you got to have so many tools in your tool belt when you go into that listing appointment, and having the option to explain what owner financing is because they don't know, or explain what the lease option, is. It's stuff like that. There's so many different options that they can do, and you're going to need all of those in the next few years.
Yeah. And here's the thing that is, you want to talk about the thing that is very unselfish about all this is live like a local. You have turned what could be a negative for the realtor. Oh, they didn't buy a property. They decided to rent instead for the first 3 years. To a huge positive where you're actually making even more money over time than if they would have just bought in the first place. And here's a little thing that you didn't mention, and I'm going to say it, and then you can tell me to strike it from the record. But when people do live like a local and sign up with you, they're also signing an exclusive buyer's agreement that when they buy, they'll buy through you and your team, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
I would drop the mic, but I've already broken one. And that's just too good, right? That's how you're basically owning the experience of the person that's coming into town. And It's amazing how many of smart people look to rent first before buying. And all the realtors are looking for buyers. You're over here ready for that executive, smart CEO, COO, CFO who just knows they want to get a lay of the land before they make a big financial commitment.
Yeah. And they don't want to move twice. Who
Yeah.
wants to move twice? Who wants to pay rent for a year, be locked into a contract? If they
Yeah.
find their dream home 3 months in, they're stuck. They can't buy it.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. And talk about like 21 versus 22, 23. Maybe they buy in the wrong house in 21, 22. In some places, that's gone down a little bit. So they've actually lost money implementing the whole buy when you get there strategy. Not that that happens very often, but in this case, it's very relevant. So I love that. I keep going back to the freedom. You're living in Cabo. You're running the system in North Carolina. It's running efficiently. You've got some boots on the ground there, but what's interesting is the 4-hour work week is actually, Ferris would be the first one to say, like, it's not about actually just working 4 hours. It's about freedom and being able to work from anywhere and do whatever you want. He talks about dancing in Argentina, and he talks about, basically, I'm not going to go tie myself to a job. I'm going to be this free-spirited serial entrepreneur. I'm going to make money wherever I go. And that's what you're doing. This is so good. So you tell me, what words of wisdom would you share with someone who maybe feels like they're going to get constrained from a niche, or they're afraid to put it out there that they're the traveling realtor or they're the specialist in this, when maybe it's in their best interest to go niche? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think they have to figure out what they love, what they can do, what they feel confident doing. I think a lot of it has to do with confidence too, and just the confidence to make the decision to do it. And then you're going to learn along the way. You're not going to know everything going in. I had no idea how I was going to make this work when I was laying in that hammock thinking I'm going to be the traveling realtor. I'm like, how am I going to do this? Am I going to do the retreats for real estate agents? Well, I mean, I do that now, but like, that was kind of my thought. Like, how am I going to do this? And so just figure out what that is. And I think it's going to be, obviously it's going to be different for every single person listening to this, but think about what your strengths are. What problems have you gotten through? I think a lot of us, you can turn your messes into your messages, or say your miracles, right? And help other people. And so think about maybe some of the tough things that you've gone through in your life, right? Maybe it was a move that you moved to a new city and you dealt with something that was crazy. I don't know. Just think about outside of the box things like that, and try to find out what feels good to you, and make it be a feeling thing.
That's what I did with referrals, right? I mean, there's other ways to do this business. There's the cold calling, the door knocking, the Google ads, you can be the conversion king or whatever. I decided to be the referral king, right? And, that was risky. That I'm going to put all these other different maybe mechanisms away, and I'm going to focus 100% and master this. And it's worked out awesome, right? Because mastery is always more poignant or more powerful than mediocrity. Being a jack of all trades, but an expert at none, or a master of none. And it's like, be a master of at least one and figure out what it is. And your Halo method, I'm telling Amanda, that's a winner. Like, I want to figure out a way for us to work together to offer that to the generosity generation, because that's a winner. Like, there's a lot of good, even if they don't niche it, learning these different strategies might be the solution that keeps a deal together or makes a deal work over here that nobody else could solve. So I just think that it's brilliant. I love what you're doing here. It's just it's a lot of fun. And like I said, you're kind of living this existence where you can work from anywhere and still do real estate, which doesn't happen a lot in real estate. It's much more, what is the avatar of a realtor? they can't go on vacation, because as soon as they go on vacation, they're going to get deals on all their properties, and their buyers are going to say, I want this now. And so they don't really have a vacation even when they're on vacation, which, by the way, that is a thing. But it's one of those where, you've kind of freed yourself from being locked down. I love that.
Yeah, I remember those days. I would say the travel guides. It was literally as soon as I booked a trip to go, international, the travel guides would come out and people would come out from the woodwork. So I always tell my agents, I'm like, look, if you ever get slow, just book a trip to go somewhere where you're not going to have any self-service.
Yeah.
Go to Africa.
Yeah. And the farther the way, the more deals that will come out. The slower your internet wherever you are, the busier you'll be wherever you're from. And it like all of those are so truisms. It's not even funny. But I have to tell you, I really, really relate to and love, take your mess and make it your message. And then, take your test and make it your testimonial. And it truly is like, where are you coming from? And that might most likely help you pick where you get your first clients from. From there, you can adjust and figure out, what your niche is going to be. But my niche very early on was housewarming parties. So what did I do? I threw a housewarming party for every buyer who bought through me. Well, that hit the street and that got a lot of momentum. Well, what's the difference between buyer's agents? Like, they would help me find a house. They would help me find a house. They would help me find a house. And this guy's going to help me find a house and have a housewarming party afterwards. And that was the only difference I had. But that's what people wanted, and it spread like wildfire. Of course, we did housewarming parties, which goes into our event stuff. And at the housewarming party, they got to meet me. Some of them actually liked me, and they got to talk about it, and they got to spread the word. And the number one thing I always heard is, I've never heard of a realtor doing housewarming parties. So I like getting that compliment, and that's a niche. That's, doing one thing a little bit different is a niche. So.
What stands out to me when you say that, you are attracting your people. So the people who like to party, which if you're following the DISC, it's the I's, right? If you're following the bank method, it's the A's, it's the action takers. So when you're doing that, you are literally speaking to them. So all you have to do is word all of your marketing to be around that particular personality style, and you're going to hook every single one of them.
Yeah. You know who likes to party? People who like to party, right? and here's the other thing, Amanda, I'm a huge introvert. Like I have been practicing for 2020 all my life. Like when that hit, I was like, yeah, yes, let's go. I can stay home. You mean I can't travel every week to speak? I mean, that's horrible. That's terrible. Yay, right? But here's the thing. That's what I love about our methodology and the referral mastery system is that, if you're an introvert, you're not going to promote. You're not going to go meet a lot of people to promote your business. You're just not going to do it. You're going to lack the energy to do it. So what do? You got to get the extrovert to do it for you. So that's what events do you have events, you host them, you get people together who are extroverted, they talk to each other, and then they talk to the world while you maybe say something for 3 minutes, but your whole job is to get them together. And when they get together, they talk about you. And what do they talk about? They talk about the event. When they talk about the event, who do they talk about? They talk about you as the one who made it happen. So, that my whole strategy is how to be an introvert and get extroverts to speak about you. But here's the beautiful thing that we've also discovered is if you're an extrovert, you love this business methodology because it gives you organization and a system around all your socializing. There's a control, there's a system, there's a structure, and the extroverts are loving it. They're like, have events? Let's go, right? Introverts are like, I don't know, but it's like, no, if you're an introvert, you got to do this because this is the only way that the word is going to spread about your business. So I love what you said there. You identified a really key part to why this works. So good stuff. All right, this is awesome. You're saying make it happen. You're saying take your strengths, take your solutions, take your experience. Where do you feel like you already have some confidence? Where do you have momentum and run with it? And I think the other thing too is let it develop. Yours could have been just the house hacking, but it developed into arbitrage, right? And then the arbitrage kind of developed into lease option strategies. And then your owner financing came from, I mean, those are really 4 different things, but you rent down the niche of that kind of rental, and it just, you took it where the momentum was, right? You found the owner finance stuff, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's a niche here. There's a thing we can do. Amanda, this has been fantastic. They need to go to amandathetravelingrealtor.com. Traveling has 1 L in it. Or they can go to Insta and check out your link tree, and it's at Amanda the Traveling Realtor there. Any other way that they can contact, reach out to you, or find you?
That's really the best. I mean, if you Google Amanda the Traveling Realtor, you're going to find all of my stuff. I am so easy to find, and I have many, landing pages and all that stuff out there. So you'll find a lot if you just Google me.
Love it. Just Google her. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another amazing podcast with Amanda Williams. Amanda, thank you so much for being our guest here today. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. And this was a lot of fun.
Yay. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. I'm telling you right now, by the way, you want to meet great people like Amanda Williams, go to joingengen.com. Join the generosity generation, get referrals, hang out with the people, joingengen.com. And then also, if you want to see a flying fish, I want you to go to YouTube. I know most of you listen to our podcast, but today is the day that you're going to go to YouTube, Get Referrals. That's our YouTube channel, is Get Referrals. Doesn't that make sense? And you are going to be able to see a flying fish. I'm not going to tell you where it is, but you're going to find it. You're going to see it very, very quickly, and I can't wait for you to see it. Make sure when you go to YouTube to check it out, you subscribe and you hit the little bell that gives you the notification that Referrals Podcast is up and running, and another episode is there for you to see and not just hear. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you. Make sure that you check us out. And hey, you know what? I just thought about what our next episode is. You are not going to believe it. Make sure that you are subscribed to Referrals Podcast. It is another drop the mic moment on Referrals Podcast next week. I can't wait to see you. Can't wait to hear from you. Have a great one, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.